part of a bustling Yoruba town called Ijebu-Ode, where the aroma of rich spices and the rhythm of drums filled the air. There lived a young woman named Keji, known for her radiant beauty and kindness. She was the apple of the eye of everyone that beheld her. Beneath her radiant exterior, there was a sorrow that haunted her. Keji was an orphan. Orphaned at a tender age, she had been raised by her aunt, Iya, who loved her as her own. Keji's life, though filled with love, was not without its challenges. The whispers of the town's women often spoke of her lack of parents, but she had learned to grow resilient, holding her head high despite the murmurs. Keji was now in her early 20s, an age where young women in Ijebu-Ode were expected to be married. It was no surprise that several suitors sought her hand, but her heart was captured by one, Ayotunde. Ayotunde was a man of gentle spirit, known for his wisdom and deep love for his people. His father was a wealthy cocoa merchant, and his mother, Alhaja, was a woman of high standing in the community. When Ayotunde declared his intentions to marry Keji, the town buzzed with excitement. Their love was pure, and the union seemed blessed by the gods. However, beneath the joy, there lay a brewing storm. Tradition demanded that Ayotunde's family formally meet Keji's guardians. Though she had no parents, her aunt, Iya, had taken on that role, standing in the place of her late brother and sister-in-law. The meeting was arranged, and the entire town knew that this was no ordinary gathering. Alhaja, known for her pride and strict adherence to tradition, was coming to meet the girl who would marry her only son. On the day of the meeting, Iya had prepared a feast that would be the talk of the town. The air was thick with the scent of pounded yam, egusi soup, and freshly fried puff-puff. Keji, adorned in a vibrant blue iro and buba, her head wrapped in a matching gele, looked like a queen, but beneath her calm exterior, her heart pounded with anxiety. When Ayotunde arrived with his parents, Keji's heart skipped a beat. Ayotunde smiled reassuringly at her, but Alhaja's eyes were cold, her expression unreadable. After the pleasantries and the customary exchange of kola nuts, Alhaja finally spoke. "Where are the parents of this girl?" she asked, her voice laced with a tone that silenced the room. Iya, ever the dignified woman, explained gently, "My sister and her husband passed on when Keji was just a child. I have raised her as my own since then." Alhaja's face darkened, her lips pursed in disapproval. She looked at her son, who seemed taken aback by his mother's reaction. The room, once filled with warmth and laughter, grew cold. "So she has no parents?" Alhaja asked, her voice now dripping with disdain. "How do we know where she truly comes from? How do we know what blood runs in her veins?" Ayotunde attempted to interject. "Mama, Keji is a good woman. She has a pure heart and I love her." But Alhaja was unmoved. Love? Love is not enough. A marriage is between families, not just individuals. How can you marry someone who has no roots, no lineage? What will people say? Keji felt the sting of Alhaja's words deep in her heart. She had faced many hardships in her life, but this cut deeper than any. Ayotunde's mother had judged her not for who she was, but for the circumstances of her birth, something she had no control over. Now to the wedding preparations. Despite Alhaja's clear disapproval, Ayotunde and Keji continued with their wedding plans. Ayotunde, who had always been respectful of his mother, was torn between his love for Keji and his duty as a son. Yet, he knew in his heart that he would not abandon the woman he loved. The date was set and the entire town was invited. The market women gossiped about Alhaja's discontent, and many wondered if the wedding would ever take place. But Keji and Ayotunde held fast to their love, believing that once married, they could weather any storm together. However, Alhaja was not one to be crossed. She began to walk in the shadows, whispering into the ears of elders and influential families, sowing seeds of doubt. An orphan, she will say, shaking her head as if in disbelief. What kind of future will they have? No one knows her true heritage. As the wedding day approached, the tension grew palpable. The once enthusiastic planning now felt like a forced march toward an uncertain future. The colorful ashwebi had been chosen, the caterers were ready, and the musicians had been hired. But there was an unease that hung over everything, like a dark cloud on a sunny day. Now the D-Day, the wedding day. On the wedding day, the town of Ijebu-Ode was alive with excitement. The streets were lined with people dressed in their finest attire, eager to witness what was supposed to be the grandest wedding of the year. The venue, a large open space beneath ancient baobab trees, was decorated with flowers. Keji arrived at the venue, her heart pounding in her chest. She wore a white lace iro and boba with a coral bead necklace that gleamed against her dark skin. She looked every bit the bride, but her mind was heavy with worry. Alhaja had barely spoken to her since the meeting, and Ayotunde had assured her that all would be well, but deep down, she knew something was amiss. As the ceremony began, everything seems to be going smoothly. The priest began the traditional rites, blessing the couple with prayers and incantations. But just as Keji and Ayotunde were about to exchange their vows, Alhaja suddenly stood up. "Stop this wedding," she commanded, her voice echoing through the silent crowd. The crowd gasped, and the priest paused, looking at Alhaja in confusion. Ayotunde, visibly shaking, turned to his mother, his face pale. "Mama, what are you doing?" he asked, his voice trembling. Alhaja stepped forward, her eyes blazing with anger. "This wedding cannot proceed. I will not allow my son to marry an orphan, a girl with no roots, no lineage, no parents. It is a disgrace to our family." The crowd erupted in whispers, the once joyful atmosphere now tense with shock and disbelief. Keji felt as if the ground had opened up beneath her. She looked at Ayotunde, tears welling in her eyes, her heart breaking with each word his mother spoke. Ayotunde, torn between his love for Keji and his loyalty for his mother, stood frozen, unable to move. His mind raced, but he could find no words to comfort Keji, no way to undo the damage his mother had caused. Iya, who had been watching in silence, finally spoke. "Alhaja, this is not the way. This is not the way of our people. We do not judge a person by their circumstances, but their character. Keji is a good woman, and she will make a good wife for your son." But Alhaja was unmoved. Character? What about heritage? What about the blood that runs through her vein? My son deserves better, and I will not stand and watch him marry someone who has no family, no background. Keji, feeling the weight of Alhaja's words, crushing her spirit, turned to Ayotunde. Is this what you believe too? That I am not worthy because I am an orphan? Ayotunde's heart broke as he saw the pain in her eyes. But before he could respond, Alhaja spoke again. You have a choice, Ayotunde. Marry her and lose your family, or leave her and keep your place in this community. The crowd fell silent, waiting for Ayotunde's response. The once joyous occasion had turned into a nightmare, and all eyes were on the young man, who stood at the center of it all. Ayotunde, with tears streaming down his face, looked at Keji and then at his mother. The weight of the decision was too much to bear, but he knew he had to choose. With a heavy heart, he turned to Keji and whispered, I am sorry. Those two words shattered Keji's world. She had always known that love was powerful, but she had never imagined that it could be so fragile, so easily broken by the words of another. As Ayotunde walked away, following his mother, Keji fell to the ground, tears streaming down her face. The crowd, once eager to witness a beautiful union, now dispersed in silence, leaving Keji alone in her grief. Iya rushed to her side, holding her close, but there were no words that could mend the situation.